Welcome to Navigating the Customer Experience. Want to improve your organization's customer service? Looking for insider tips to knock your customer socks off? Then you're in the right place. Here's your host, Yannick Grant.
Welcome to Navigating the Customer Experience. On today's episode, we have with us a very special guest, and his name is Joseph A. Michelli. Joseph is an internationally sought-after speaker, author, and organizational consultant who transfers his knowledge of exceptional business practices in ways that develop joyful and productive workplaces with a focus on the total customer experience. His insights encourage leaders and frontline workers to grow and invest passionately in all aspects of their lives. Dr. Michelli is a Wall Street Journal, USA Today, Publishers Weekly, Neilsen Bookscan, and New York Times #1 best-selling author. His latest book is Driven to Delight, Delivering World-Class Customer Experience the Mercedes-Benz Way. Some of his other titles include Leading the Starbucks Way, 5 Principles for Connecting with Your Customer, Your Products and Your People, The Zappos Experience, 5 Principles to Inspire, Engage, and Wow, Prescription for Excellence, Leadership Lessons for Creating a World-Class Customer Experience from UCLA Health System, The Starbucks Experience, 5 Principles for Turning Ordinary into Extraordinary, and the new gold standard, 5 Leadership Principles for Creating a Legendary Customer Experience, courtesy of the Ritz-Carlton Hotel Company. And of course, When Fish Fly, Lessons for Creating a Vital and Energized Workplace, which was co-authored with the owner of the world-famous Pike Place Fish Market in Seattle. Joseph holds a certified speaking professional designation from the National Speakers Association and is a member of the Authors Guild. He received his Masters and Doctorate from the University of Southern California, and he's won the Asian Brand Excellence Award as an Editorial Board Member for the Beryl Institute's Patient Experience Journal and is on the Founders Council of Customer Experience One. He's also named one of the top 10 thought leaders in customer service by Global Gurus. So without further delay, welcome, Joseph.
Hello, thank you so much. It's good to be here.
How are you?
I'm excellent. Thanks for having me.
Great. So before we actually get into the meat of the podcast, we always like to give our guests an opportunity to share with us just a little bit about yourselves. Just share with us about your journey. How is it that you've been able to accomplish so much in such a short space of time? And, maybe what are some of the things that have really helped you along your journey?
I think that I've been in this business now of customer service, transformed into something now we call customer experience enhancement for so long that I've had many great mentors and guides along the way. And if anything, I've been excited to see how many people have started to appreciate that it's not just products that they have that make the difference in the marketplace, but it's really the way they bring those products to market. And I think changes in the global economy have caused us all to realize that you can get a lot of very similar products very easily today, but the service dimension is something that very few have mastered, and it is a differentiator.
Awesome. So I'm very intrigued by some of the books that were mentioned in your bio. And one thing I noticed about most of them is that there's a number 5 that's constant in some of the books that you've authored. Could you share with us maybe from one of your favorites, either the Zappos or the Starbucks or even the Mercedes-Benz? What are these 5 principles that seem to be a constant in most of the books that you've authored?
I think it all really does start with leadership. It starts with an entrepreneur, a small business owner, a large company, having a leader who has the vision to realize that people are the most important aspect of business, that all business is personal, that you have to understand the wants, needs, and desires of people in order to create, innovate, and deliver in ways that meet their wants and needs and desires. So, I think universal that leadership dimension, I think, is a overarching commitment to utilizing both technology and the human capital within your organization to create memorable or craveable experiences that people will talk about through social media. I think there are dimensions of driving culture, a culture of service excellence, as well as operational excellence, getting it right and making it right and obsessing about that. And I think most of these brands are really on a journey to decrease the amount of effort that customers have involved in getting their needs met. Finally, all these organizations share an understanding that this is a long game, that this is about lasting significance, not just short-term sales or profitability for the next quarter. It is really about understanding relationships and multi-generations of consumers who are going to support your brand.
True, so true. Now, customer experience is different in many parts of the world. As you pointed out, leadership is really the one driving force that can consistently help to improve the quality of the service that our customers have, both internally and externally. From your own experience, what do you think are some of the limitations that leaders may face? Do you think they're internal or more external? Why it is that leadership seems to be a big challenge for a lot of organizations, why they're not getting it right, like the Amazons or like the Zappos?
Because I think that they see excellence within silos. They build organizations that have silos, and they're not looking at the journey of the customer across the organization. So instead of looking down from the top of an organization and seeing my marketing silo and seeing my sales silo and seeing my after sales silo, customers look from a horizontal vantage point, and they see the brand, and they see it when they encounter it in consideration of a product. They see it when they walk into a store or when they attempt to purchase something from an online storefront. They see it when they make their return. They are seeing the same brand in a horizontal walk. And unfortunately, lots of organizations reward people for success in each of the verticals, in the silos, as they look down on it from the top. So a lot of this really gets to helping organizations create opportunities of handing the customer from one point in the journey to the next point of the journey seamlessly, instead of just celebrating success within a silo.
Right. And then I found that the companies that really understand their journey also recognize that things are not going to go smooth all the time. So service recovery is so important. How do you think a business owner or a leader should approach service recovery?
Well, I think it's one of the greatest differentiators. Everybody does a pretty good job until they get your money, right? As soon as they get your money, they treat you very differently. Some take you for granted, never talk to you again, only talk to you when it's time for a renewal, try to get you constantly buying something from them and chatter after the fact. So those who, after the sale, respond very ably to the needs of the consumer, the better. And I think that the first foremost part of this is understanding that service recovery is an investment in future marketing. So rather than seeing it as a loss leader, it is a part of your advertising strategy and saves you money from having to advertise and recover customers who are soiling or contaminating the marketplace with their negative reactions to your poor recovery. So I think it's a mind shift on what recovery is. It's a fundamental opportunity to decrease future marketing costs and actually leverage that which is so valuable, the customer you've already acquired, in having them be a repeat purchaser. It's so much easier to get them to buy a second time than to get someone to buy the first time. And the costs associated with retaining a customer are so much less, even if you have to invest some money in a recovery moment, than it would be to actually try to require a replacement customer.
Yes, yes. Could you give us an example of maybe, as I said, you've authored so many of these books and you've worked with some of the leading organizations. Could you give us an example of service recovery, one that's really worked, and why it worked, and why would the customer perceive it as one that's been successful?
Well, I think it's as simple as Starbucks has a promise that if you don't like your drink, we will replace it for you, no questions asked. So let me take it to the extreme. There was a prankster, a person who pranks corporate America. So he bought a Starbucks drink. He brought it home. It was a milk-based drink. He put it in his garage. He left it there for a week and a half. He brought it back extremely rancid inside of a plastic bag, and he brought it into a Starbucks, and he handed it in this plastic bag to the barista saying, "Look, this drink does not meet my satisfaction." without hesitating, because they'd been trained so well by this brand, simply said, let me take this out to our back dumpster, and in the meantime, what drink can I prepare for you that you might like today? It was that simple. Many people would say, oh, well, come on, obviously, this is not a freshly made drink that we're in any obligation to replace. But in truth, this prankster then went on to write a blog about the fact that he had hoped that they would fail their service recovery promise, and they did not do so, and he was actually the one who got pranked. And that advertising and that promotion and the fact that I'm telling you that story today has far more value to the brand than the $4 they would have saved had they argued with the customer in suggesting that he was not entitled to the recovery.
Amazing. Wow, that's a powerful story. Wow. I live in Jamaica. And I'm telling you, if you ordered something, and first of all, most of the stores here, they already have a sign on the door that says no exchanges, no refunds. So you, as a customer, once you enter or you start to browse that store, okay, if I purchase this, clearly it's a final purchase. If I have an issue with it, I can't take it back. So it's just truly amazing to know that the promise is that they are going to replace it for you, no questions asked. I mean, that takes real guts, real courage.
And there will be those who abuse it, and this would have been a case of abuse, right? I mean, clearly what went well beyond the parameters, but most people will not. There's a speaker here in the United States who actually at the beginning of every presentation hands out a bowl of quarters, and he says, please take of the quarters. And no one has taken all in any audience that he has ever put that out to. And the message largely is that most people will self-regulate. Most people are business owners. Most people have a sense of fairness. There will be those who abuse it, and those you may manage, but assume the entire population is out to get you creates an animosity between yourself and the customer that's hard to recover from. And as a world traveler, I mean, I have been to countries in the Caribbean that are very open and warm, and I've been to ones that are locked down, and I know which ones I want to go back to.
Mm-hmm. Very true. All right, good stuff. Now, could you share with us, let's say there's a business owner that they are already in a brick and mortar type of setup and they're looking to move into the online space. What do you think are some important considerations that they should take into account in order to be successful?
Well, I think that online is a very self-service oriented deliverable. It's a lot about speed. It's a lot about convenience. So I clearly should be maximizing those dimensions. But I should also note that the more speedy and more automated things become, the more you need people around in case something goes wrong, because we become lulled into a sense of everything is perfect. And so if you're going to have online, you also need to have some level of call center or human response that can deal with any breakdowns that happen in the automated space. And so I think you have to be very mindful that you're going to move in and out of brick and mortar, in and out of call center, in and out of online app deliverable. And so it really is a multi-channel mindset that you have to start thinking about. And the customer can start in one spot, jump to the next, and needs to be able to jump back to the next. If you go purely online and it's difficult to get people to solve a problem or answer a question that you can't get answered on a frequently answered questions page of an online, then you end up with a lesser experience and you may end up churning customers. So doing online well means you also have some really good, talented human capital that bolts into this multi-channel journey.
Yes, very true. So you mentioned that speed and convenience are two of the driving factors when you're dealing with an online business. I know those are also driving factors in a brick and mortar business, but I want to hone in a lot on speed. The type of customers that we're dealing with nowadays, at least the ones that I've experienced, everybody wants it like yesterday. If you tell them that it takes 5 days for the item to be processed, or 5 days for it to be shipped, or 5 days for us to get the item delivered to you, 5 days is just too long. How can we change, in this constantly developing world? Is it that as business owners, we need to just adapt to this speed mentality, or do we need to coach our customers into the fact that some things do take time? I
think it's both. I mean, we have to maximize the speed at every turn. There's no doubt about that. I do think we have to manage customer expectations because there are certain expectations that have gotten ahead of customers. And in order to have everything that fast, you also give up some trade-offs on artisanship sometimes or quality. So I think it is an education on trade-offs, that with speed comes some compromises, and we're unwilling to make them in these regards because we know what's best. And in the delivery of this particular product to you, you need speed. We know you need speed. We're working to that and maximizing that, but you also need quality. And if you compromise and buy something very hastily crafted in order to meet the speed, it probably won't last for you. So I think it's creating what is value, and speed is a part of the value equation, but there are other dimensions you have to educate. I also think sometimes we can do things while they're waiting for those 5 days for a product. We can educate them. We can stay in relationship with them. The art of Disney, if you go to Walt Disney World or something, I mean, you're in massive lines. It is not speedy at all to go through the experience, but they often distract you, entertain you, transform you with other things happening while you're in line.
True.
And I think that's the art, sometimes of this is figuring out how else might I add value. The product will be there in 5 days, but in the meantime, I want to give you 5 days of information about how to maximize the use of your product as soon as it arrives so that there isn't a learning curve. So maybe there's a not speed to delivery, but there's a speed to use because I've done something in that delivery time that adds value.
Wow, that's a great nugget. Amazing. So you're really maximizing and you're creating a perception to the customer that they're actually getting more than what they've paid for, even though the time is still taking 5 days or 4 days, but they're actually getting added value during those 3 or 4 days that the item takes to get to them. I love it. So Joseph,
there's a actual product out there called Beta Brand. It would be worth reading about in the evolution, but they honestly didn't even have a product for a while. They just entertained their customers with stories about the product that they were trying to create. And they did not lose customers while waiting for the product to go from prototype to actual manufacturing. So there's some classic examples of that strategy that are available to your listeners.
Amazing. Okay, what did you say it was called? Data Brand?
It's called Beta Brand, BETA brand.
Okay.
And if you look at the early products that they evolved, you'll see kind of how they entertained customers while they were waiting for the products to actually be created.
Very good. All right. Now, how do you stay motivated every day? You've written all of these books. This is just so amazing. You've had the opportunity to interact with all of these different publishing companies, all of these different business entrepreneurs. In making reference back to your bio, the world famous Pike Place Fish Market in Seattle, I actually watched a YouTube video on them because I had a guest a couple of months ago that gave reference to it. And it was just amazing that even though they're selling fish, they've really made an experience out of it, and people come there more for the experience, and the fish is just a bonus, What are some of the
Absolutely. Well, that
Go ahead.
I was just going to say that particular journey with that owner was a co-authored book with Johnny Yokoyama, who created the fish market. I've had the good fortune of working with him. He's inspirational to me. I think you and I share many of the same journeys, right? We go in, we help leaders create better experiences to drive loyalty, engagement of their people and of their customers. And I can only tell you that is such a life-giving journey that I'm on. To deal with the Johnny Yokoyamas, to deal with the CEOs of these corporations and watch them lead these initiatives, to watch small business owners change the way they treat their people and the way their people treat customers. It is so life-giving that there is nothing to, it's easy to do what I do anyway.
Yes, it is true. I concur. So because of that, it's very easy for you to stay motivated.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Amazing. Now, can you share with our audience what's the one online resource, tool, website, or even an app that you believe you could not live without in your own business?
I think I'm on the road all the time, so almost all of the airline apps and almost all the hotel apps have incredibly value to me. To be honest with you, this morning I walked to my local Starbucks. I used my mobile order app. I was able to, have enough time to actually sit down and enjoy my coffee because the coffee was waiting for me. All those things, anything that makes my easier is something that I tend to continue to give real estate to on my phone. Otherwise, I download a lot of apps and then they get, they're gone in 72 hours because I don't use them. They look good, but they don't give my life ease or pleasure.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Could you share with us some of the books that have had the biggest impact on you?
I'm sorry, you broke up for a moment there.
No problem. I was asking if you could share with us some of the books that have had the biggest impact on you.
I always answer saying it's Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. It is the message of a psychiatrist who survived the concentration camps in World War II. The beauty for me is that he inspires me to realize how great can be. And my classic section is where he's talking about people who are near starvation, who give the pittance of food that they have, a small portion of that, to someone else who's in worse straits. And Frankl says, not many people did that, but the fact that we can is inspiring to all of us. And that's the way I look at the world. We can all serve better. We can all do more to be in service to one another. And that's the kind of book that I tend to like to read.
Very cool. Very cool. So we can all be of greater service to each other. Amazing. Now, what's the one thing that's going on in your life right now that you're really excited about? Either something that you're working on to develop yourself or your people?
Well, we're right now trying to figure out how to go and start creating product. I think I'm at a point in my career where I've written enough books and I've done enough consulting and I've been on the road a lot. So I'm trying to figure out how to monetize and create a platform of training courses and things that keep me from having planes, so that in 10 or 15 years I can spend more time in the islands enjoying life while still creating value as best I can.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, I hope Jamaica will be one of those islands that you're going to come. I'm working on the service so that we can improve it. But we were just ranked number 24 as one of the best countries to visit on destination spots by the New York Times. I saw that on Twitter 2 days ago. So I think we're doing some things right because the tourists are coming back and we've made it onto the list.
Such a joyful soul in Jamaica. I actually be heading down to Antigua, to a private island off of Antigua, Jumbi Bay, and the person who's in charge of hospitality there is a wonderful Jamaican lady who has this gracious soul. So anyway, I very much welcome any interactions with Jamaicans and or the islands in future.
Amazing, amazing. All right. Now, we have a lot of listeners who are business owners and managers who feel they have great products and services, but they lack the constantly motivated human capital. If you were sitting across the table from that person right now, what's the one piece of advice that you would give them to have a successful business?
I think it starts with you. We can bemoan the generation Y and Z and millennials, and reality says, if you're not 100% in every single day, why should anyone else in your organization be? You are the owner. You are the leader. You set the standard. What shows up in your business is probably in part a reflection of who you are. It is harder today, I think, to find motivated people, so it takes more discipline to select. You should be looking for them everywhere you find them. You should be offering them an opportunity to consider employment with you, stealing the best from the rest. But ultimately, I think it is, how do you show up every day? Because that's what will show up in the life of the customer.
Yes, yes. So everything starts with you. Amazing. All right, Joseph, can you tell us where our listeners can find you online if they wanted to connect with you further?
Certainly. It's just at josephmichelli.com. And so that's JosephMichelli.
And they can find you through your website. Are you on Twitter and Facebook as well?
I am on Twitter at Joseph Michelli as well. And I'm not. We have a small presence on Facebook. It's not really where our clientele is. So we spend more of our time on Twitter and LinkedIn.
Okay, amazing. Okay, now before we wrap the interview up, there's one last thing that we like to ask our guests, and that is basically, what is one quote or saying that you like to remind yourself of during times of adversity or when you face challenging times in your life? Do you have one of those?
Sure. Peter Drucker once said that we're not in business to create a profit. We're in business to create a customer. It is through customers that profits come. So for me, I'm less worried about whether or not we're going to be profitable. I'm more worried about customers. And if I take care of customers, the profits will follow.
Amazing. Good stuff. All right. Thank you so much, Joseph, for taking time to sit down with us this morning and have this interview. We really appreciate it. There's a lot of great nuggets that we took away. And of course, there's always the great bits that you can go further and take away from the books that Joseph has authored. So I want to thank you again for taking the time.
It's my pleasure.
Great. Just want to remind our guests or listeners that listen to this podcast that they can follow us on Twitter at Navigating CX, and they can also join our private Facebook group at Navigating the Customer Experience. So thank you again for listening. I'm your host, Yannick Grant. We really appreciate your support of this podcast. Are you ready to grow your business even more, or improve your leadership skills, or train your team members in the art of customer service? Give us a call at 305-848-0815 or visit our website at www.yannickgrant.com. That's YANIQUEGRANT.com. Remember, 305-848-0815 or visit our website at yannickgrant.com. Our new online course, Mastering Customer Experience and Increasing Your Revenue, is now available. The link for this will be on the show notes of each episode starting September 7, 2016. The first 2 modules are free, so hop on over, have a look, and take the steps to increase your revenue.
Thanks for listening. For more awesome resources to take your customer service game to another level, head over to navigatingthecustomerexperience.com. See you next time.